Ray J recently found himself stepping back into the spotlight after issuing a public apology directed at his sister, Brandy, following a heated social media outburst in which he went off on Cameron, Mace, and Shyne. The situation began when Ray J reacted strongly to comments made by the group during an episode of It Is What It Is, where Brandy's name was brought into the discussion. His response online was immediate and intense, reflecting frustration and protectiveness over how his sister was being spoken about. In the aftermath of that reaction, Ray J chose to address the situation directly, shifting from anger to accountability as he attempted to make things right with his family, particularly with Brandy, whom he referred to with deep respect and personal responsibility. In his apology, which was shared on Instagram before being deleted, Ray J made it clear that his message was intended solely for his sister, and not for public interpretation or debate. He expressed regret for the way he handled the situation, acknowledging that his actions were not aligned with the image or standard that Brandy represents. His words carried a tone of sincerity, emphasizing that he recognized he had crossed a line and that he wanted to take ownership of that mistake without attempting to justify or soften it. He explicitly stated that he was out of pocket, reinforcing that he understood his behavior was inappropriate and did not reflect the values he associates with his family. Ray J's message continued with an emphasis on family loyalty and personal growth. He acknowledged that while he will always feel protective over his loved ones and willing to defend them, he must also learn how to express himself in a more controlled and respectful manner, especially in situations that involve someone as important as his sister. His apology was not only directed at Brandy, but also extended to his parents, showing a broader recognition of how his actions might have affected his entire family. He admitted that moving forward, he wants to ensure that his behavior aligns with respect, not only in words, but also in actions that represent his family in a positive light. He further clarified that although he still holds negative feelings toward those involved in the discussion that triggered his response, he recognized that his method of expressing those feelings was not acceptable. This distinction between his emotions and his behavior was central to his apology, as he attempted to separate his personal opinions from the way he chose to communicate them publicly. Ray J made it clear that while he stands by his protective instincts, he understands that reacting in anger without restraint can lead to consequences that affect more than just himself. He signaled a willingness to grow from the incident and to approach similar situations differently in the future. In addition to addressing the immediate situation, Ray J also expressed a desire to potentially reconnect or be more involved in Brandy's world at some point in the future, suggesting that he hopes to rebuild or strengthen their relationship through more positive and respectful interactions. His mention of the future, including a reference to a timeline such as 2027, reflected a long-term perspective on reconciliation and personal improvement. He framed his apology not just as a response to a single incident, but as part of a broader commitment to becoming more mindful and disciplined in how he communicates, particularly when family is involved. The tension that led to Ray J's reaction originated from a conversation during an episode of It Is What It Is, where Cameron engaged Shyne and Mace in a discussion that touched on overlapping timelines related to their past relationships with Brandy. As the conversation unfolded, it began circulating online, drawing attention and sparking reactions from those who felt the narrative being presented did not accurately reflect reality. Brandy herself responded by publicly addressing the situation, making it clear that the claims being circulated were not true and that her past interactions with Shyne were being mischaracterized. In her statement, Brandy explained that her connection with Shyne in the late 1990s was strictly platonic and should not be interpreted as a romantic relationship. She expressed frustration that a friendship from over 2 decades ago was being reshaped into a narrative that did not align with what actually occurred. Her message conveyed both clarity and concern as she sought to correct what she viewed as a misrepresentation of her personal history. She emphasized that there was no dating relationship between them and questioned why such a narrative was being revived and altered during current media discussions.